Good morning. Isn't it good to be in the house of the Lord today? Will you stand with me as we sing our call to worship? Surely the presence, and we'll sing it through twice.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel His mighty power and His grace. I can hear the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on His face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel His mighty power and His grace. I can hear the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on His face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
It's great to have each one of you with us this morning. We are thankful to be here. Let us start out by wishing all of our mothers a happy Mother's Day. We're blessed to be able to gather together and lift up the name of Christ and celebrate this together. And as we talked about it in the early service, that Mother's Day is not just a celebration of motherhood, but it's a celebration of womanhood. And in today's culture, when the lines are getting blurred, it seems like, between womanhood and manhood, it's good to be able to celebrate the women in our life and to give them thanks and appreciate them for who they are. So, because although they may not be a biological mother, I'm sure they have served as a motherly figure to someone. I know in my life there's been many women who have served as a mother-type figure in my life when either my mother wasn't able to be there, or after she has passed on, a lot of ladies have offered up kindness and compassion. And so for that, today we celebrate womanhood, and for the women that God has placed in our life, and for the help that they have offered us. So here shortly, in our time of fellowship, we're going to offer up a flower to all the women that are with us today, and celebrate each and every one of you, because we are certainly thankful for you. By the way of announcements, let me say that the 21st of this month, 2 weeks from today, we'll be having a church picnic from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. It'll be at Veterans Park at one of the pavilions there. It'll be from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. We'll be having a softball game at 5 o'clock. We have one of the fields reserved, and so if you're interested in playing softball with us, and it's for anybody, man or woman, whatever age, it'll be at 5 o'clock. If you'll see Kyle or Rocky, we'll get you signed up for that. And if you're debating it, we'll come around next Sunday, maybe to our Sunday school classes, and invite people to participate in it. But we're going to have a good time. It'll be a good time of fellowship. It'll be a good celebration, and we're thankful for it. Tonight we'll not be having our Sunday evening services because of Mother's Day. We encourage you to take this time to spend with your mother and with your family, and love them and appreciate them, and just make the most of today. And don't take them for granted, but be thankful for them today. Next Sunday night, our Sunday night marriage classes will start back at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and 6 o'clock. Then at 7 o'clock next Sunday night, we're going to be having a church-wide meeting, or a board meeting in a sense, to talk about our future plans and what we have ahead of us. We've got some good things ahead of us. We're excited about it. If you want to hear what we're discussing or what we're talking about right now, or the possibilities, please come next Sunday night at 7 o'clock, and we'd love to have any input that you might have to offer. But that'll be next Sunday night. Are there any other announcements of any kind before we take prayer requests this morning? All right, Tuesday at 9:30. All right, any other announcements? What about prayer requests this morning? Are there any prayer requests? Remember George Cook when you pray. Harold and Margaret. Okay. Okay, Betty.
My sister Sue.
Okay. Okay. Who? Okay. And Sharon. Remember Sharon when you pray. Stevie Burns. Okay. Somebody might want to. Tony, you want to help us out? The latest on George. Okay. Okay. Trying to get blood pressure regulated, and he is still in the hospital right now. Okay. Doris, continue Doris, as she's still in rehab. Shane Green family. Right, absolutely. All right, unspoken with a show of hands. God knows the stuff that's going on in our hearts and in our lives. He knows things that we wrestle with, things that we deal with. I know everything doesn't have to be spoken. Everything doesn't have to be mentioned, but God knows the very depths of our heart. He knows our struggles. He knows the good things that's going on in our life and the hard things as well. So for a moment this morning, we're thankful that Kyle's going to be sharing his testimony with us here shortly, and so we're going to get to that here in a minute. But before we do, we're going to invite you to take this time as we pray to kind of set your heart and set your mind for a time together. There's a lot of different stuff that goes on in the world that we have to deal with on a regular basis. A lot of brokenness that we have to put up with ourselves and with the world around us, and just humanity within itself and creation itself is in a very broken state right now. But we get an opportunity on Sunday morning to come into the house of the Lord, and we get through the power of the Spirit, gather together with each other, and for a moment we get to step away from that. We get to enjoy the wholeness that Christ offers together this morning. So let's make the most of that, and as we lift up His name, you'll be surprised how the Spirit will minister to you in the areas of your life and in the needs of your life. So if you will, stand to your feet and bow your head. Let us go over with a word of prayer this morning. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning and we thank you for this time together. We thank you for the opportunity that we have to lift up your name and worship you this morning. Father, you've blessed us in so many ways. You've taken care of us. You've looked out for us. Lord, you've placed wonderful people in our life, Father, things that we didn't have any control over, but you loved us enough to send people into our life that love us and care for us and help us along life's way. Father, for the women that are here today, Lord, for these that serve within our church and provide compassion and kindness to the people around them, we thank you, Lord, for each one of them. And Father, for this Spirit, for the service this morning, we ask that your Spirit would rest upon this service and that it would bless it, that it would anoint it in a powerful way. And we just turn this over to you. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. If you'll remain standing, the choir lead us in worship.
His side, believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, who was conceived by the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, dead, and buried. The third day he arose from the dead. He ascended into heaven, and sitteth at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. From thence he shall come to judge the quick and the dead. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting. Amen. serve thee, because I love thee. You have given life to me. I was nothing before you found me. You have given life to me. Heartache, broken pieces, ruined lives are what you died on Calvary. Your touch was what I longed for. You have given life to me.
Heartaches, broken pieces, ruined lives are what you died on Calvary. Your touch was what I longed for. You have given life to me.
You have given life to me. You have given life
Come on, man. I don't need to hear me. Good. Stay.
Yeah, you're good.
Thanks.
It is good to have each one of you with us this morning. We are thankful to have Kyle with us. He's going to come around and share his testimony. But let me say this before he does. Kyle and Emily are coming on this month as our new youth directors. And so we're very thankful and we're excited about that. Pleasant Hill has been blessed with some good youth directors over the past few years. When I come here, Chris was here, who was doing a good job. And then when it was time for him to go on into ministry a little further, Eric came on and he did a fantastic job. And we're fully convinced that Kyle and Emily are gonna come on and do a fantastic job as well. So we're thankful for not just for their service, but we're thankful for who they are, for the life that they live, and not just from a pastor standpoint, being able to turn youth over to them, but from a father standpoint with a child in the youth and many more to come up through the youth. I am excited to know that that they do have one in there who is what they present themselves to be. And so very thankful for that. We also want to thank Renee for leading it during the time of this transition. She's done a great job with them. She's going to continue to help with them. She's very blessed and gifted to work with the youth, and so we're thankful for the work and for the time that she has put in. But Kyle's going to share his testimony with us today, and like I said, we are extremely blessed and thankful that he and Emily have come on. They got married last weekend, so they're old hats at this marriage game now. 1 full week into it, so we're thankful to be able to be a part of that. But we're going to invite Kyle around right now and just turn it over to him. Okay.
Thank you. Check. Can you hear me? Oh, hot mic. Can you hear me now? Good. Yeah, that sounds a little better. Good morning. How are y'all?
Fairly well.
I'm fairly well too. I'm glad to be here. Thank y'all for having me. What's up, little man? Come on in. Thank you guys for allowing me the opportunity to come here this morning and share my testimony with you. I want you guys to know from the start that my testimony is not about me in any shape, form, or fashion. I'm just a character in God's story, and I hope that it encourages at least some, if not all of you this morning. Before we get started, I'd like to do something that I did in the first service, and I'd also like to do it here. If you're a mother here this morning and you're able, would you please stand? Let's give these ladies a hand. Thank you all very much for standing. It's very appropriate that I get to share my testimony with you guys this morning on Mother's Day. My mother is my rock. Which now Emily is my rock, very much so. But for years, my mom was all we had growing up. My parents were married for 25 years. I'm the youngest of 4. And you say, well, how's your mom all you ever had? That's quite an accomplishment. Your parents were married for 25 years. You had 4 kids. What could possibly go wrong there? But the truth is that it should have never even lasted that long. But my mom is a trooper. She hung in there, and whenever they got married, vows meant something to one parent, and they didn't mean something to the other. And my mom did her best to hold her vows with my dad, but she had every biblical right to have divorced my dad much sooner than what she did. But she didn't. She stayed in there and just tried to be the best mom and wife that she could be. And she was. I have on a pink shirt this morning, and it's for my mom. Every time I wear pink, I think of Mom. When I was 2, she had breast cancer. And I was clueless. I'm the youngest of 4. I've got 2 older sisters, and they took care of me. And so I basically have 3 moms. Those of you that have older siblings understand that. But recently, Mom's cancer came back as ovarian cancer, and it was stage 3B ovarian cancer, and it had spread throughout different parts of her body as well. And so I decided, which Mom is cancer-free now. She pulled through that also. Wouldn't expect anything less from her. And she's just, she's an incredible woman, and you guys will understand a little bit more about that. But her hair fell out from all the chemo, and I decided that I was going to maybe give a nice gesture and grow my hair out and try to donate it. And it's tough, because I've always had short hair, and it's different having long hair. So so that's why I've got all this hair on top of my head. So anyways, before we get started, Tim, if you don't mind, pull up Jeremiah 29:11. Jeremiah 29:11 reads, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." I'm going to leave that up throughout my testimony because I'll reference it a few times. I want you guys to really focus on God this morning. I'm just up here talking. I'm just up here sharing God's story. It's not my story. It's what God's done through my life and through people in this room even that have known me during this time. If you will, let me paint this prequel for you. My mom, when she was just a baby, lost her dad. Lost her dad at a very, very young age. Never knew her dad growing up. And he was killed in an automobile accident over here on Old Savannah Highway. And then when my mom was 15, she lost her mom to breast cancer. And so I can imagine that when I was 2 years old and my mom was battling breast cancer, the thoughts that were going through her head. But like I said, she's an amazing, amazing person. And for those of you that know my mom, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you that don't, you'll get to meet her. She'll be here sometime. She's been here before, but if you didn't have the chance to meet her, you'll get to meet her again sometime. So with that being said, Mom losing both of her parents at such a young age, she had no choice but to grow up quickly. She was dealt a hand of cards, and she did the best with that deck of cards that she could do. And she endured 25 years of hell on earth. You know, earth is heaven and earth is hell. For many people, it's all the heaven that they're going to know. There's nothing better for them. But for a lot of people also, it's as little as heaven as they can grasp until they get to walk through those gates one day. And I pray that I'm there with all of you guys. I say Mom endured hell on earth for 25 years because she watched drugs and alcohol just decimate our family. And drugs and alcohol got a hold of my dad at a young age. And when Mom married him, she, I guess, didn't realize the things that had been going on in his life, you know, behind closed doors. And basically, he chose drugs and alcohol over his family. And you know, I'm not here to bash my dad in any way, because there are people here that know my dad, and they will agree when I say that when my dad's sober, he's a good man. He's hard to beat, but he's just not sober that often. And that's a sad true statement. He grows a garden every year, lives by himself, grows a garden probably bigger than this room, and just gives them out. That's just the kind of guy he is. But drugs and alcohol can rule your life, and unfortunately, they've ruled his for the majority of his life. And through those drugs and alcohol, I witnessed abuse in every facet to my mom. I've seen everything you could imagine in a nightmare. Black and blue, blood, broke bones. There was never peace in our house growing up. I was 10 when they divorced, but there was never peace. It just, you know, if I was at home, it was screaming, yelling, cussing, drugs, alcohol, smoke. I got accused of smoking in the 3rd grade by my third grade teacher. She walked by my desk, and I smelled so heavily of smoke that she accused me of smoking. And that'll be with me for the rest of my life. I'll never forget that. That's not fair to me. But I say it's not fair to me. Things happen for a reason. Because really what happened to Jesus on the cross wasn't fair to him either. So with that being said, when I was 10 years old, my mom worked up the courage to leave for good. And we had left before and come back. And it was out of fear. That was all it was fear. Fear ruled over my mom's life for a long time. And I'm so thankful that she's broken those chains of bondage now. But yeah, I was about 10 years old. My dad had been out doing whatever it was he was doing. And he came home, and we had already packed a trash bag full of clothes each. Now, I'm the youngest of 4. My oldest sister, my oldest sibling, was already married and moved out. She had her own place, she and her husband, and that's where we were planning on going. And I had a trash bag full of clothes, as did my other 2 siblings. And as Dad entered the back door, we tried to simultaneously exit the front door. When the door opened, we opened our door. When the door closed, we shut our door. And we snuck around the side of the house. And in doing so, I can remember vividly Dad going through the house, screaming, just yelling, like he was furious. I mean, it was terrifying. It was scary. I was very afraid of my dad growing up. And like I said, it was not my dad. It was the drugs and the alcohol, and it's just a shame. Life's so short, and he'll never be able to get those days back. He made his choices, and life's full of choices. And I want to encourage you guys, when a choice presents itself to you, I hope you make the right one. But we snuck down the side of the house, and I could hear him just screaming inside, and he knew the gig was up at that point. And we ran to the car, and as we were pulling out the driveway in the car, I see him run out the back door, and we make it away, and we're free from all that chaos that had been going on for so long. But during that time, though, even though times were rough at home, I was introduced to Jesus at a very young age. I was a member of the Sunshine School at Macedonia Church of Christ. And you want to talk about a ministry having an impact on a young child. I learned a completely different way there. It was full of love and acceptance, and nobody judged you. And I fit right in with the kids because I love to play, still love to play. But and I remember learning the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. And that, to me, at the time, was a foreign language because of what we'd grown up in. And but I knew it was right. It just felt right. Something was right about it. And the seed had been sown in my heart through Sunshine School. And I remember all the little jingles we used to sing. I remember learning the books of the Bible. And Mom did an excellent job of always trying to steer her kids in the right direction. She made known that she could only do so much, but you better believe me, she did what she did. And so I made a lot of good friends there. But my best friend at the time, and he still is my best friend, I talk to him all the time. We talk on the phone. I get off the phone with him, tell him I love him. He's just like my brother. Many of you know him. His name's John Ham. And I'm so glad he could make it here today. And I want to tell you a little bit about John and me, because John's family was God sent. Truly, truly God sent. We were friends before we could say our first word. We were friends before we graduated diapers. We were sitting up I mean, Julie tells the story. She tells me all the time. I mean, and we've probably got all kinds of crazy, funny stories, and I hope you never hear any of them. So, but John was my best friend, and my bedroom at home in Rhodesville, where we're from, my bedroom window faced his house. And I don't know how John did it. I don't know if it's an internal alarm clock, but if sun was up, he was already outside playing. And so all I had to do was roll out of bed, pull my blinds down, and there he was, clockwork, out there in the yard playing. So I'd go over there and play with him, and we would play. And his mom, Julie, bless her heart, she makes the best sweet tea in the world. I would encourage you to figure out where she lives and stop by and ask her for a glass of her sweet tea. But if John was not outside, all it took was a phone call. And as a kid, John was not John to me. He was John David. That's just what I called him. That's what my sisters called him. He was John David. So I would call, and sweet Julie would answer the phone, and I'd say, "Can John David come play?" He sure can, and we would play all day long. It didn't matter if it was raining outside. We had stuff to do inside. We didn't care. Rain didn't bother us. Mud didn't bother us. The wetter it was, the more fun it was. And we ruined many a clothes. But, we played. We had a lot of pasture land around us, and it never seemed to fail that there was always just some loose wood laying around, and we would always find some loose nails laying around. And we have built and tore down many clubhouses. And it's actually a funny story that I didn't share this morning. We used to climb trees and stuff. John's dad, David, built us an awesome tree house. But we were climbing a tree one day, and I jumped out on a limb, and it went up and down with me. I thought, well, that was fun. I'm going to do it again. So I got up there and did it again. Well, the tree broke, the limb that I was dangling from, and I fell down. I dislocated both my shoulders. And John likes to tell people I looked about like a bird because my arms were just going everywhere. So, but anyways, John was hands down my best friend growing up, and still is hands down my best friend to this day. Now, when we were about 4 or maybe 5, John's parents gave another play pal. His name was Dustin. Many of you know the name, Dustin Ham. I've got as many memories as I could have possibly made in the 5 years that I knew Dustin. We climbed the same tree I fell out of and dislocated my shoulders. Anything the big boys did, Dustin was there. He did not care if it was going to hurt him. He wanted to be a big boy. And he was a big boy. Dustin was awesome. John and Dustin had this 2-man go-kart. And we'd ride around. And I had a 4-wheeler. And we had this little pasture outside us. And we'd just run in circles and circles and circles. Hands would be raw, black from the grips on the handlebars would be on my hands at the end of the day. And when the sun came up the next day, we were doing it again. And I can remember so vividly sitting Dustin up on that 4-wheeler. And I would control the throttle and shift the gears. He'd just steer. And he loved it. Later on, Dustin got sick. And I didn't know how bad. Just knew he'd been going to the hospital and had all this stuff going on at home. So I didn't know. And it was shortly after we moved and finally got out of that I realized just how serious it was. And Dustin had been moved to St. Jude Hospital. had cancer. He made the most out of his time here. Dustin was such a joy. And I can't wait to play with him again one day. I know he's going to know exactly who I am. But I lost a brother that day that Doug passed away. And I missed school. I was probably 10 years old. And I just laid in my bed and I just asked God why. Why? I've been through so much. And now this, and it just never seemed like things were going to get better. And I lashed out at God. I was mad. And so everything that I had learned at that sunshine school, I threw out the window. You know, I was just a young boy. I didn't know any better. But, you know, God's got plans. He's got plans for me. He's got plans for you. It says plans, not only plans, but plans to prosper you and not to harm you. It's not in God's plans to harm us. God only wants what's best for us. And now that I'm older, the impact Dustin had not only on my life, but on the lives of everybody that knew Dustin. Wow. That's the life I want. I want to have that same impact. Started getting in trouble at school. Had to write honor codes. Had to write sentences in the 5th grade. And then Mr. Young came along. And I was introduced to wall sits. And I tell Emily all the time, wall sits changed my life. Now that may hold some truth. That's not really what changed my life. And fast forward to, just a year. Within the next year, my mom remarried, married my stepdad. This was a lot to take on at once as a kid. And not all of it was my stepdad's fault. Some of it was, sure, but we did not get along. Today, we get along fine, don't we, Emily? We cut up, we joke. Helped him change a flat tire just not too long ago. He's not that bad. But as a kid, I couldn't understand everything that was going on, and it was difficult. And I'm sure I was rebellious. There were probably negative connotations that the things that I had already been through had put on my life that I didn't even realize. But God had a plan. If there was ever a verse that I just really had to cling to growing up, it was God had plans to prosper me and not to harm me. So it lets me know that all the harm that had been done in my life wasn't of God, and there was still hope. There was still a hope for a future. It says it right there. Now, fast forward to 8th grade. Remember the friends that I told you I'd made at Macedonia? Well, probably 10 or 15 of them come to school wearing the same t-shirt one day. And it caught my eye. It was a black t-shirt, had yellow stars across the back. I said, what is this t-shirt they're wearing? And so I got in behind one of them in the halls, and I was reading it. And so I asked them, I said, what are these shirts? I see all you guys have them on. And so this is from a thing we go to called Winterfest, and it's in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Our youth group goes there. And I knew they were old friends from church, so I didn't have to ask which youth group. They were still in church, doing the things that they needed to be doing. And so I thought to myself, maybe I could get one of those t-shirts. And I've never been to the mountains before, so a little vacation, free t-shirt, why not? So at that point, God had me hook, line, and sinker. God had my attention. And so the next Oh, they told me it was in February, so the next January I get back in church. And yeah, thought I was being clever. The church is probably looking at me like I know what he's doing, you know. But sometimes I think I'm smarter than what I am. And so I go on this event called Winterfest for the T-shirt and for the vacation, and I really bit off more than I could chew. I mean, the things that I had learned in Sunshine School just came like a flood back into my heart. I mean, I wept. I mean, it was just to relearn that God really loves you, to refocus on what I needed to be focused on as an 8th grader. It really changed my life, and that was the weekend that I was truly saved. I came back home from that retreat and was baptized in Jesus' name. And God had done His work while I was up there. And the last night of the retreat, we were in the chalet up there, and our youth minister was Eric Bogus at the time, and he said, I just feel like somebody's got something they need to share. I'm just going to leave the floor open. And I thought, oh no. And God was saying, yes, 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 yes. And I sat there in silence and fought it and fought it and fought it. I could just about say I wrestled with God, but I did not win. I spoke up, I raised my hand, and I just wept. I mean, I just boo-hooed all the stuff that I'd been through, and I knew what was right. I knew what was right. I knew what I needed to be doing. But I had fallen so far away from that. It was so easy. It was so easy to get away from. And I was surrounded with love and compassion and acceptance all over again. And I witnessed the fruits of the Spirit again: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So, when I was 16, I got my licenses. My stepdad had some land in Waterloo, and a short time after my parents got married, we moved to Waterloo. Waterloo was not where I wanted to be. And so it made things difficult, because even though I was saved, the tension was still there between me and my stepdad. And remember, I was young, and I was not putting my best foot forward. It was just not something that I was willing to... My mom was all I ever had through all this. And I was not ready to give her up. Selfishly, I was not ready to give her up. And, my stepdad's not a bad guy. But in my eyes, I wanted what was best for Mom, and I felt like she could still do better. But that was who she wanted, and they're still married today. They've found a church, and I'm ashamed of the way that I acted towards him as a kid, but all is forgiven, and we're doing well now. But at this time, my stepdad and my mom had been in an argument early one morning before school, and I was still very sore about my stepdad. And so I decided, hey, I'm miserable here. I'm in Waterloo. It's such a long drive to anywhere. I've got to pay all this gas money. I can move back in with my dad. I'd be miserable there too, but I'm miserable here. Not any different. I'd be closer to my church, be closer to school. So, yeah, the 16-year-old genius that I was, I moved back in with my dad, who had done all these crazy things growing up. And of course that never worked out either, but time marched on, and my theory was get as involved in everything that you can get involved in, and keep yourself occupied, keep yourself busy, get into every club you can get into in school, do everything you can with friends on the weekends, don't come home until you have to, and only sleep here and get up and leave again. That was my solution to getting along with my dad. And even that didn't work. But time marched on. My high school career went on. Oh, I do want to say this. When we moved to Waterloo, I played baseball every year of my life except for this one year. And wouldn't you know that that is the year that all of my buddies went to the World Series. I'm still sore about that. It's my stepdad's fault. So anyways, I get a kick out of it now. So time marched on. My high school career marched on. And we're seniors. I made a lot of mistakes in high school. Everybody did. So don't let me sit up here and share my testimony with you and you get this image that I'm perfect, because I'm not. I've made plenty of mistakes, but fortunately, we have a forgiven God, and all is forgiven. I was involved in all these clubs. I told you that already. And so the end of the year rolled around, and we have at Central what's called Coronation Court. Some of you are very familiar with it. And I decided I wanted to be on the court. It would be such an honor. I mean, I was, all of my friends, they didn't have a clue what I had been through. They just saw me as Kyle, just like a lot of you guys. A lot of you guys never knew I had a story like this. They just saw me as who I was every morning at school, every day at school. I was involved. I showed up. I dressed as well as I could. I made good grades. I had been in the youth group from 8th grade on. And so they thought, yeah, this, he's got it together. But really, I was still broken. But I wrote an essay to try to get on this coronation court, and I was accepted. And that was just the biggest honor. And from that coronation court, your peers, grades 10 through 12, I think it was, vote for a Mr. and a Miss off of that court. And humbly, I was voted Mr. And there were so many candidates. I didn't even vote for myself. I don't remember who I voted for, but I know it wasn't me. And there were so many other great guys that I just still to this day call friend, that I felt like deserved this over me. And I was voted Mr. CHS, and that was really, really humbling to know my story and to keep it close to my chest, because not so many people knew. And so then it came time to go to college. And, I had this stuff on my resume. I was involved in this club. Well, I ended up getting awarded 2 scholarships. One was the James Craig and Paige T. Smith Scholarship. It's a firm out of Birmingham. And one was the Coca-Cola First Generation Foundation Scholarship to the University of Alabama. Huge Alabama fan. But I knew that if I went there, that scholarship would not last very long, because I would flunk out, because I would be there for the football and not the books. So I accepted the James Craig and Paige T. Smith Scholarship, and to give you guys an idea, there are thousands of applicants. It's an in-state scholarship, and I think it was only like 7 people awarded the scholarship, and I was one of 7 recipients. And it's a scholarship up to $15,000 a year to any school in the state that you get accepted. It's tuition, books, room, board, meal plans, the whole 9. And I was so blessed because, face it, what we grew up in, we were poor. I had no clue. I had no clue we were that poor, but we were. And so I was able to go to UNA, and one of the stipulations on the scholarship was that you had to live in the dorm. If they're going to pay for it, you've got to live in the dorm. I thought, well, that's perfect. I don't have to live with my dad anymore. And so I just felt God just doing all these incredible things, and of course, I let myself get in the way. And I didn't study like I was supposed to. I didn't make the best of grades, but I still retained my scholarship. And but every fall and every spring, I had to go to Birmingham for these seminar type deals, and they started adding these stipulations that went against my religious beliefs. Just to keep it simple, I'll leave it at that. And so I politely told him, I said, I'm so grateful for the scholarship opportunity, but I can't accept this scholarship. I can't do what you would ask me to do to keep the scholarship. So I'd like for you guys to give it to the next in line, give it to someone else who really needs it. And I'll work, I'll put myself through school. Well, that was so tough. That was tough. Ended up, UNA messed up my financial aid, ended up sitting out a semester, and I really began to think, is this what I want to do? Do I want to go into thousands of dollars of debt, or do I want to try to find a job and make this work? And so I began to pray, and I'd always wanted to be a firefighter, and so I applied to be a firefighter. There were over 100 applicants, and of these 100 applicants, 50, we'll say 50, passed the written test. Well, I was in that 50. Well, then about a month later, you have to take the CPAT, which is the physical portion. I passed the CPAT, so we're down to half that. I say 20. I think we were about 20. And they were going to hire 9 firefighters. So I've got a 50% chance here. I like my odds. Good guy. I don't go to church. That's what I thought of myself. And I interviewed. Felt like the interview went well. I get a letter in the mail. Didn't get the job. I was crushed. I felt like God had put these desires in my heart, and I was seeing these desires come to fruition. And I came home. At this point, I was a sales associate at Hibbett Sports. And I came home. Ben Bearden, which is also a very good friend of mine. John was my best man in my wedding. Ben was one of my groomsmen in my wedding. Ben was there for me whenever things didn't work out with my scholarship. I tried to move back home. It just wasn't going to work. I've tried to be so patient with Dad. I've tried to love on him. I've tried everything, and there's just no getting to him. He's stuck in his ways. And so I moved out, stayed on a few friends' couches here and there, and ended up spending 6 months on Ben's couch. And ended up getting a room in that apartment complex with Ben, and we remained roommates up until Emily and I got married. So I'm very, very thankful for Ben's relationship and for being there for me during that tough time. God has always, always taken care of me. Always. There's always been someone there. John and his family, when I was young, at a young age, they said, here's where we keep our key to the house. If it ever gets too bad at home, come over here, let yourself in, and call 911. I mean, it was just, God had placed these people in my life, and I see it, it's just undeniable evidence that God has a plan for me. And so I'm living with Ben. I come home. I've been denied this job, and he's in the living room playing Xbox. Normally, I come home. I'm the first one to hop on the Xbox with him. We play games, eat Doritos, drink Kool-Aid, and be college students. But this day, I was broke, and I felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. I knew that God was wanting me to do something better for myself, and I went in my room. Tim, would you pull up the next verse? Matthew 6, 5-15 says, "And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who's unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you." I wanted to make sure I was doing this right. I went into my room. I walked past Ben. I think they spoke to me, and I probably didn't even acknowledge them. And I closed my door. I opened my Bible, just burdened, and laid on my bed and read that. I said, okay, I'm in my room. The door's locked. Nobody knows I'm in here doing this. I knelt down beside my bed, and I wept. I really wept. And I just told God, I said, God, I know that you have a plan for me. And I know that you would not close this door without opening another door. And I also know that the door you've opened is better than the door you've closed. I know, without a shadow of a doubt. Show me. It probably, 2 weeks that went by, my brother and I are talking, and my brother is an electrician in Sheffield's local union 558, IBEW. He said, Kyle, if you think you would enjoy doing what I do, I'm pretty sure I can get you in if as long as you pass your tests. You know, I can't do anything till you do your part. If you pass your test, do what you're supposed to do, interview, then I can start putting in a good word for you. So I did, but not before praying about it, because the idea of being electrocuted is not fun. I do not want to be electrocuted. And so that almost scared me away from my career, actually. But you know, we're trained. We know what to do in certain situations, and I'm a third-year apprentice now. Actually, next month I'll be taking my tests to graduate into my 4th year, and then I'll only have my 4th and 5th year left, and I'll be a journeyman wireman. But that's just the brink of it, because once I got in and started doing this job, I was like, okay, God, this is who you want me to be. Use me. What do you want me to do here? Because this is not what Kyle had in mind for Kyle. What is it that you want? And so, to fast forward now to Emily. Emily and I went to high school together, and were brought back together by Facebook. Just a funny incident that happened through a Facebook message, and I was like, yeah, you know, I remember that. And ended up getting her phone number. We text. I don't think we ever had a phone conversation up to this point. And one night I'm sitting at the house. Ben and I had gotten out of the apartment and got a house because I had a better job now. And I love to cook. I know I'm skinny. This boy loves to eat. And so I thought, well, I'll cook. You know, I'm hungry. And you know what? I think I'll call Emily and invite her over for a movie. I'll cook for us. We'll watch a movie. Be a good night. So I call her, and I run the idea by her. She said, well, I would, but I'm looking for a dog. And hold the comment, Skip. And I said, you are? Well, where you at? And she said, well, we were at First Fridays. And my ears perk up because I live like 3-4 blocks from First Fridays. So we were at First Fridays, and we were going to adopt a dog, and it ran away. And so I said, well, where you at? I'll come help you find it. It's dark. And bless Emily's heart, she's not ventured far from Central too many times. She's downtown. She's in an unfamiliar area, and it's dark. She could be in a familiar area, and if it's dark, that's enough to scare her. And I said, well, let me come help. So where you at? So she tells me the street name she's on, and she's literally at the intersection next to my house. And so I said, go to Gold's Gym's parking lot and wait on me, and I'll meet you there. And it was she and her mom, and I went and met them there, and I said, well, look, which way did it go? I had my mag light, and I just walked. And or maybe I drove and then went back and parked my car. I ended up walking in the neighborhood looking for this dog. Long story short, they stayed in the car. And no dog. But if you ask Emily's daddy, she'll tell you that we were brought together by a dog. So we laugh about that, and it may be true. It may be true. That's just, if God has a big enough sense of humor to give me my salvation because of a T-shirt, He can use a dog to bring us together, you know. So there's nothing too big or too small outside the lines for God to use for His glory. And anyway, so now let me find my place here. Okay, well, that's about where I got to. with me and Emily. And Emily and I, God blessed me with Emily, and we've been dating nearly 2.5 years now. And through all this, God just places all these people in my life. He's always taking care of me, and I cannot tell you enough how blessed. If I could have blessed myself, if God would have said, I'm going to let you pick who you want, I couldn't have blessed myself anymore. Couldn't have. Emily is the best thing that's ever happened to me. It was going to take a special woman to take my mom's place in here, and God gave her to me. God gave her to me. And not only did He give me her, He gave me her parents. He gave me a dad I never had. He gave Johnny a son Johnny never had, because Johnny has 2 girls. And we have, I'm so humbled by it. I didn't do anything to deserve what God's done to bless me. But He's blessed. It's like He just dumped over a bucket with blessings written on it, and it all fell on me. And just last weekend, I took Emily's hand in marriage. And now I'm blessed with a beautiful wife, amazing in-laws. I've given Emily's mom a nickname that she will have forever. She is forever Mama T. She comes from a big family, and it's starting to spread. It's starting to get to some of her family, the young ones in her family, and so they're starting to call her Mama T. And we sit around the dinner table. I lead us in prayer, and it's amazing. It is truly amazing. I want you guys to understand. Can you go back to Jeremiah? I want you guys to understand this. Always, no matter what you're going through right now, you've got to hold on to this hope. You've got to hold on to that hope right there. Because God has plans to prosper you and not to harm you. If you're being harmed, it's not of God. It's not of God. God loves us. And we may not always understand, but the Bible tells us not to lean on our own understanding. We've got to trust Him. And this is the faith that I've literally, I had no choice but to live. If I wanted any hope at all, I had no choice but to live by this faith. I want you guys to know we're blessed to be a part of Pleasant Hill. What's going on here? It's a growing church. I normally attend the early service, so if this is your first time seeing me, I surely apologize. But God's blessed me with a few talents, and one of them happens to be music as well, and so I play for the praise and worship band there and enjoy it. My candle went out. But I really, really, really enjoy being a part of this church family, so thank you all for all that you do for us. It's just amazing that Emily's been here her whole life, and I've only been here, I guess, almost a year now. But the love and support that we get, even before we were even thought of, even when Eric was still the youth minister, and the thought, and even in the air, that he was going to leave for a higher calling. But we've just been loved on, and we want you guys to know that we love you very much, and we appreciate this church and everything you do, and we look forward to serving here for many, many more years. So, thank you.
Well, we are very blessed and very fortunate to have Kyle and Emily come on as youth directors, and we're excited to see how God's going to use them and in the lives of the kids. And so we're just thankful for who they are. And let me say, he does have some nice hair, don't he? That hair's sharp, buddy. But we are, like I said, thankful to have them, and we're blessed. And I know the kids will be blessed too. They'll have a good time. I know Kyle's a big kid at heart, and so he'll fit right in with them. So they're going to have a good time. They're going to have a fun time. Makes me envious. I'd like to be a part of it myself. But we are thankful. Like I said, no services tonight. Go home, enjoy your family. Love your mamas, the women God's placed in your life. Let them know that you appreciate them. You know, as I said before at the early service, you know, your mama don't have to be with you for you to be able to appreciate her. There's a lot of things that Mama taught me that I'm still coming into realization today. So take this time today. Be thankful for them. Thank God for the people that God has placed in your life. There's some wonderful, you know, some of our greatest blessings, if not our greatest blessings, are the people God sends us to help us, to hold us up and encourage us. And they come in many different ways. You know, they come by way of friends or family or co-workers or people that we have relationships with at church, whatever it might be. They come in many different ways. And so you need to take time and thank God for those people that He's placed in your life to help you out, because we all need it. Nobody's an island to themselves. We're just simply not. Times we might want to be, but you won't be long. You just can't be. So, but it's good to have each one of you with us. If you will, if you'll stand to your feet. You know what? We need to get Jan, if you want to come play us, get our candles out for us. One of y'all ladies Chloe, you want to come get our candle for us? Mm-hmm. Yes, we have a bunch of flowers left over. So we have some out here and some out there. So if you'd like to take some home, take some to your mama or whoever it might be, we'd love for you to. We got plenty left over.